All right, folks. Born from religion and resurrected by manga, we are going to cover some fun stuff today, including butthole demons, a treat you can milk, and then finally an insatiable mouth that's not in the front of the face.
This sounds like a Thursday night to me.
For you, that's a wild day. For me, that's Tuesday. Oh, man.
All right, so welcome to the current episode of Chaotic Underground, where tonight we return to the dark and the spooky, but in another country.
Ooh.
And that would be the subject of yokai. These things are basically ghosts, demons, spooks, and spirits, whatever you want to call them. They all fall under the overarching name of yokai. They also have a few different names if you're a nerd and like Japan like me, and that is things like bakemono and obake, mononoke, and oni. Mononoke is probably familiar to some of you because if you like Ghibli films, you've probably heard of the movie called Princess Mononoke.
Okay.
Great movie.
Yeah,
Great movie.
Technically qualifies to be called Monster Princess. So, yeah, it is a well-known thing nowadays. But
I've seen that movie too.
Have you?
Yeah.
What kind of monsters were in it?
There's a pig with a bunch of worms coming out of
I'll
it.
show it to you later.
One of those sounds like a hentai.
The pig with the worms, obviously.
So realistically, yokai are more than just supernatural occurrences. They do have a little bit of a source in folklore, particularly Japanese folklore. I'm a huge fan of Japan, thanks to a research project I was forced to do when I was in elementary school, and discovered a love of another country that I have followed into nerdy hobbies and legends and history. Lots of fascinating things happen there. And if you look it up, there's all kinds of weird stuff, fun stuff, interesting stuff, sad stuff, whatever you want to say. And
thus the proto-weeb was born.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely was born.
So this is how it all started, huh? Like, see, you were into Japan before anime, not the other way around.
Absolutely. So I was in elementary school, and everybody got assigned a country out of like the main countries to do a research project on. And I got Japan, and I was completely a lazy child. I wanted to play Nintendo, and I did not want to research this, but I also...
Hey.
What?
Nintendo, Japan, that's research.
Yeah, you have a good point, my friend. But I also didn't want to lose my Nintendo privileges, so I had to put out an A effort. I was one of those kids. So I did this research project and discovered that I loved a lot about the country, and I just kept wanting to learn more. And of course, my love of cartoons, which is Saturday morning cartoons to start with, and then eventually anime down the line. And not too much longer, mind you, because I've been doing this for a long time. But
yeah, we know you're very old.
Yeah, yes, I know. My hair is going away. I say this all the time.
Mine too. It's okay.
So yokai were born out of folklore from different small tribal groups in the islands of Japan, as well as pulled from Indian folklore, Chinese folklore. So this is just tribal stuff that they come up with originally. But as time passed, back in the day, it kind of got tilted by the religions of Shinto and Buddhism. So essentially yokai are born from religions taking tribal traditions and folklore and kind of giving their own spin on it and going from there. Basically, once, and it was all just, these stories they told around campfires, like they were invisible, no one saw them. And then as time passed in the olden age, the art was developed, so they started actually like painting scrolls and doing things like that to give an image to these demons and spooks and things like that. So
kind of sounds like the ghost stories and creepy folklore from the West, just the Eastern spin on it. But I guess I'm sure you're going to get into it, but I'm just trying to figure out the dividing line between yokai and like ghosts or spirit or...
Yeah, because especially when you mentioned that you were studying yokai, I didn't know if, because I don't know anything about yokai. I didn't know if, like, are they considered Japanese ghosts? And I didn't research because I wanted to kind of keep a blank slate because
I know there's yokai in Phasmophobia.
So So to actually clarify this is there's the whole thing of it is just a term for describing ghosts and demons in general. That is essentially what. And now it has been used in turn to describe Japanese ghosts in particular, just to keep it simple. Because so like if a Japanese person encountered a Western ghost, they'd be like yokai. It's that could be a term that would be used.
Gotcha. Okay.
But for the ease of explanation even, we'll use yokai to describe the Japanese demons and spirits we will be talking about today. I just kind of wanted to go over a little bit of the initial history of it and kind of what happened when it first came about. During the
hurry it up because I want to get to that butthole one.
All right, fine. All right,
let's just get to the butthole one.
I'm just kidding.
Right.
Look, the listeners want to hear about the butthole demon.
Look, this just in. Ryan and Z are all about the buttholes. All right.
Look, I already know what the title's going to be at this point. So,
all right, I'll go ahead and speed it up a little bit just because I like to get to some stories myself. During the Edo period, in particular,
the anal period. Yes,
we're here.
Oh, damn! I do realize that sounds like that now. What a terrible, terrible coincidence.
Worst guys to say that around too.
So from 1603 to 1868, art and culture in Japan blew up. Basically, think like the Japanese Renaissance. So this is when the ghost stories and supernatural tales of monsters really took off. There was artists and folklorists that got together and they actually created stories and books and encyclopedias of these ghosts and ghoulies, and it quickly spread all throughout the culture of Japan to the point where it was everywhere. It would be in theater, fine art, nobles would stage storytelling parties, and even like the common man would just get drunk and tell these stories while they're hanging out after work or something like that. In particular, a famous folklorist is Toriyama Sekian. I'm going to butcher a lot of these names, just giving you a heads up.
I thought you were a big fan of Japan, but
look, that doesn't mean I can speak the language yet.
But it's one of the hardest languages to learn.
So this guy got together with an artist and did some of his own art and basically got an encyclopedia created, multiples if I recall correctly from my research, chronicling these demons and ghosts and even creating some of his own. So it's all built off of just word of mouth. And that's kind of where we're at, is this huge explosion of popularity. And then we get to the Meiji Restoration period where Japan quickly modernizes and it just kind of falls off completely, disappears entirely. All that popularity, all the tales and encyclopedias, nobody gives a shit anymore. They just
it's like a Men in Black situation where like the Japanese government like hushed it out.
It was ninjas. It had to be ninjas.
So the yokai, just to kind of get clarification, it sounds like they were just fabricated tall tales, or just like or just stories that people would tell in their cups. Mm-hmm. And the minute like things kind of got a little bit more globalized and modernized, they disappeared for a bit. However, before globalization happened, you did mention that anime brought it back in the forefront, and anime was kind of big in the late 80s, 90s, right? So
yes, actually, this is manga that brought it back. Manga was actually like introduced earlier in the world in like in the 1950s. Is really kind of when you started seeing a lot of that Osamu Tezuka and things like that coming out, and it didn't look very much like the things you see nowadays in anime. There's no big eyes and things of that nature. But in particular, a specific manga author named Shigeru Mizuki created a series called Hakabaki Taro. It depicted a young boy from the ghost tribe interacting with varying yokai from old tales, and also battled off other countries' monsters, like Transylvania's Dracula the Fourth.
So this is like their Castlevania,
something like that. Let's go with that. So
that's
in
cool.
in the original manga, it was actually sold as a rental manga. Like people would pay to rent his manga because getting paper was so uncommon during that period of time. Now, little did he know it would basically blow up and become huge and reintroduce yokai into the Japanese culture, where it will remain a huge part of their culture for the foreseeable future. Again, being part of varying medias, lots of stories, and really just kind of refueling the love for fantasy and demons and things like that. But particularly, the interesting thing about this is that is the original name of a specific anime and manga that became huge called Gegege no Kitaro. And they actually remade that anime into a more modern version just not even that long ago, just several years ago. And it is huge in Japan. It is considered like one of the cornerstones of anime and manga. So yokai are back from the dead thanks to manga.
I'm sorry. I'm paying attention, Steven. I just want you to know, because I do actually have a legitimate question I want to ask you. But before I ask the legitimate question, Ryan just sent me on Discord a picture of a drawing of the butthole demon.
I wasn't looking for it. All I did was Google yokai, and it's like the 5th image.
Yeah.
I haven't even got to the tail yet.
I know. I wasn't trying to skip ahead.
I'm just going to hurry and pin this because I'm probably going to use this as an asset for the episode. The question I had is, have you read that manga? Because you've read a ton of manga.
Well, I've read at least a little bit of it. There are essentially 2 versions of this storyline. Go ahead.
Like whether you read it or not, it's kind of not the relevant part of the question. I guess my question is what part of that manga made it more pop, like back in the forefront of pop culture? Was it a character? Was it
it was basically the kind of like the character and basically like the kind of stories it would tell. Originally the original manga Hakaba Kitaro was not as kid or like family friendly as what Gegege no Kitaro became. He was originally this weird little goblin guy, and he was a money grubber, and just he'd hang out with different types of demons like nekamadas and other stuff, which is stuff we'll cover eventually. But he would try to trick people out of their money. He would in a couple stories he led them to hell, so it's actually very dark. But there was a period where that changed over, and it became this fun adventure story with Kitaro and his demon pals fighting other countries, demons, and getting into hijinks and stuff like that. And it just, during that 1960s era, it was a nice escape from other things that were going on, recovering from the war still, and just it was kind of ripe and perfect for the time for stories like that. People were trying to escape into fantasy to avoid taking anything too seriously. So when you have an entire history of monsters with encyclopedias that tell you all these tales, it became huge again. And
yes, the original Chainsaw Man.
Stay back! I got a chainsaw.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong on that front. The hype is unreal for this yokai in 1970. But
is Chainsaw Man considered a yokai?
I mean, technically, he would be if you in the generic overall term.
I know a little bit about Chainsaw Man. I'm trying to get my wife to watch it with me, but she's having none of it.
I mean, just think of I don't want to jump too far ahead in the future. You're in the 70s, but like think about how many popular animes today are about demons or about evil spirits and stuff. Like it's pretty nuts. Like that they're probably some of the most popular ones. Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer,
you got Natsume's Book of Friends. You got Noragami. I mean, technically, even Tokyo Ghoul can apply.
Parasite.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, lots.
Oh,
it's just crazy. It's just crazy how like it's held such a chokehold on the genre.
Oh yeah, and there's games, countless games about it. There's Yokai Watch.
Yeah,
it's a little bit more fun, kiddie friendly, but there is a decent amount of kind of like passover from actual yokai, and I've actually played multiple games because I just love it that much.
I mean, is there not and this is excluding slice of life, obviously, but is there not an anime that doesn't have a yokai at some point in it?
Probably not. I mean, yeah, you're right, slice of life, but I mean, yokai are kind of like the what is it, the MacGuffin of a lot of series.
Yeah,
it's like you want your character to all of a sudden develop powers. Look, it's a talking cat.
Yeah.
You've met a demon from some place. So it's this they call them mononokes, ayakashi, bakemonos. Like there's all kinds of different stuff that exists out there that kind of give something power, and you can rely on yokai because there's something for everybody in the world of yokai, that's for sure.
I know which one's for me.
So do I, and we haven't even got to it yet. And for the record, what era is this again?
This is like the 1960s to 1970. Kitaro is only 9 volumes.
1970s. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Sorry. Could proceed. I'm actually taking notes as you go. So,
I know it's
So-
like every time you like rattle off some Japanese names, I see him taking notes, and I'm like, I can't wait to see those notes. 'cause-
Whether or not I read them is up to me. It's just in case, so I can reference them in case I have to call back to something. But whether or not, so now I don't want to. You're making me self-conscious. I
Look.
hope you're fucking happy, Ryan.
Ryan
I
is
am.
essentially the most chaotic member of this group. He's here to cause trouble. I knew you had something on Discord that you were showing Z because I could just see that fucking shit-eating grin you had on you. I was like, he's doing something right now. He's doing something right fucking now. And I know I'm trying to tell him facts. And he's over here sending butt
this
pics.
is your fault. This is your fault. You're the one who said it was a butthole. There was a butthole.
Look,
one.
you wanted an intro, and I gave you a fucking intro. And I sold it, didn't I? There you go.
Hey, we were looking for something that was like maybe a 7. You gave us a full 11.
What can I say? I go big or I go home. Anyways, so this is the reinvigoration of Yokai. It is back in the world's eyes, and we are going to be talking about some specific stories. I chose a few fun ones. The Butthole Demon, we'll get a little more details, but you know, everybody's super excited about that already. So I'm going to start with something else instead.
Oh,
Damn it.
he's playing hard to get.
Hey,
No, with his butthole demon.
where do I live? That this is a conversation I had to have on a weekly basis.
The episode title is 20 minutes in, you'll hear about a butthole demon.
There's a butthole ghost?
All right, we're going to have a lot of fun telling these stories because I got 3, at least for now, depending on time. And it's going to be fun watching me try to actually say these names. So I'm going to start out with what I like to call Too Many Mouths to Feed, the story of the Futakuchi Onna. So what if you met a beautiful woman and she never had to eat?
I'd be a lot.
Yeah, they're called Californians.
I'd have a lot more money.
Ryan,
Look, those
Ryan's
Yes,
on the
sir.
right track, as a matter of fact.
Look, Californians, they have like an almond for breakfast. They stare at a candy wrapper for lunch, and then they scream at themselves naked in a mirror for dinner. That's what they do. So.
Okay, I might be from California. Okay.
Anyway,
all right.
So she didn't eat.
No, okay. So that's your take of a beautiful woman that you never would have to eat. What sounded like something else. So
I'm listening. Go on.
This is the case in the legend of the Futakuchi Onna. There was a guy too cheap to support a family like Ryan. He was cheap until he met a woman who said she did not eat at all. And he jumped at the chance to avoid paying for food for another mouth. And things were great. She never ate, but still worked hard, getting to work in the rice field, bringing home all the bacon or whatever it is they make in Japan.
I think it's rice.
It's probably rice.
Bring home the rice.
So he was really happy.
Racist remark 1.
Wow.
Technically, it's 3. I've counted.
I'm not trying to be racist. Am I being racist?
No, you're not being racist.
We'll find out in the comments below.
I guess so.
Let's see who gets triggered this round.
Oh boy. All right. So he was happy. You know, he's got a beautiful wife. She goes to work. She doesn't eat. He doesn't have to pay for her in any way whatsoever. And so he's living high and mighty, like Ryan, but only for a time. But he one day noticed that his rice stores were slowly declining, and he was really kind of weirded out by that because he's a miser. He's this cheap person, Ryan. And so he decided that one day he'd try to leave for work, but he'd stay behind and he'd hide to see what was going on. And so he hid in his house, and he was watching his wife, and to his horror, he saw his wife undo her hair. And underneath her hair was a second mouth with terrifying lips and blackened teeth that then used her hair like tentacles to reach out and pull rice balls into it and chomp and let out this terrible raspy voice like, oh, it's so good. And the guy was horrified. I don't know why he didn't jump out immediately and be like, what the fuck? But he didn't. He just decided to be horrified and stay there and eventually escape. But he was going to divorce his wife.
It's like a Voldemort situation.
I mean, it's kind of a Voldemort situation. You know, take off the hat and then there's a face there with, well, less eyes, but just the mouth and the teeth and the tongue, and you know, the black hair goes out and grabs food or whatever.
That's hot.
I found like a drawing of it, and the eyes are like the mouth. You know the Rolling Stones logo?
Yeah,
that's what it looks like.
It looks like Venom.
It kind of does, yeah. It's a little venomous. I'm getting some Eddie Brock vibes.
Yeah. No, the whole idea is that it's supposed to be able to control its hair to grab things, and it's basically like a disguise. The woman on the outside that doesn't eat and exists is the disguise. Because here's the trick: the man decides to divorce his wife, but she finds out, and so instead of handling this in any normal way, she traps him in a bathtub. Like, think an upright barrel that they would, you know, like put hot water in. So that's where you would do your bath. She took a lid and trapped him in the bathtub and then carried it off to the mountains. It's like to go get rid of this guy. Like, he's like, oh, he's going to let the cat out of the bag. I'm a demon. So like a demon, she trapped him in a bathtub and took him to the mountains.
So that's typical of demon behavior?
Oh yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Protocol.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's protocol.
You got to take them off somewhere and eat them. That's exactly Protocol.
Yeah, I worked at a demon
rice field.
Demon rice field one time. It was in college
in California.
Nobody ate. It was weird.
This explains so much. But essentially, actually, when he was in the mountains with her, he managed to escape and hide in a lily field, and she lost him. And so this is actually built on the idea of the Futakuchi Onna is basically, it's a demon that punishes or is, you know, people who are cheap and miserly are susceptible to it, or they're greedy in some cases, because there's a second story that goes along with the Futakuchi Onna.
This demon in particular was punishing this man because he was trying to be a miser with his money by not.
No, it's more along the lines that you encounter a Futakuchi Onna because you are miserly in a lot of cases, or you're greedy. So this guy's greedy. He's really cheap. He doesn't want to have a family or a wife because he has to pay to feed them and things like that. That guy's not a cool guy.
Hey, you know what? That's that. And by today's standard, that's called working on yourself. Okay, you know.
I like how you're trying to justify this.
It's called doing your own thing. You know, actively being single and doing your own thing.
Okay, do you attract demons?
Well, I'm with you guys, aren't I?
Fair enough. Okay, touche. But there is another version of this story that exists, and it is essentially about a daughter, a stepmother, and what happens is this daughter's father remarries, and he ends up with this new wife, and the stepmother decides to take the portions of food away from the main daughter to feed her own daughter, and the main daughter starts to get sick and then eventually dies. And the story is essentially at this moment, you know, whenever this woman is gone, her daughter's dead, her head starts to hurt horribly, and her head splits open and forms the mouth and the teeth and the tongue on the back of her head, and it screams for food in the voice of the dead daughter that she malnourished, and she would get crippling pain until she fed the mouth on the back of her head, and she had to do that for the rest of her life.
Have you heard of the horror movie? It came out last year called Malignant. It's kind of campy.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to watch that. Yeah, no, it's really kind of a creepy thing. Like we'll put a picture up here. Like, it's a creepy yokai, and there are multiple incarnations across anime and things. It's actually been in several anime.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean
that's
that's kind of like the ideal behind Parasite, right? But like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not on the back of the head, but
not like you're not talking about Parasite, the Oscar-winning movie.
No, the anime.
Okay. I should have assumed, but I didn't because moron. So yeah,
we know who's watched more anime in this group.
Yeah.
But
the guy doing the subject on yokai.
It's true. But this guy's watched a lot of anime too. So what's your take on the Futakuchi Yona?
It's cool. I always like the idea of like a lot of times the scary stories we hear are usually like to teach us some kind of lesson, like old folk tales and stuff. I think this kind of follows that same vein. Like it was kind of a parable to not be a cheapskate almost. And so it's cool that you see how it is in different cultures.
So Japan tends to be like a community-based culture, and this can be seen as like a parable to avoid somebody choosing to have more for themselves to leave the community out.
Okay.
That's also to treat their family well and things like that. Don't be greedy. So you're right. There is a lot of lessons to be learned from ghost stories, and specifically in all cultures, including this one. But sometimes there's not a damn thing that makes sense about a demon, like the Sharimi.
Ooh, nice segue.
Thank you. I worked really hard on it.
Yeah.
The Sharimi is the eponymous butthole demon, which we will get into a few more details. There's not even that much, all right? There's not even that much about this thing. But if you're walking alone,
I don't need much.
Clearly. So if you're walking alone at night and you're not paying attention and you see somebody in a kimono approaching, would you just pass by? Would you say hello? What do you think?
In just a kimono, like you could see his bare legs, and
it looks like a human from a distance. You got the head, you got the shoulders, you got feet moving along, that sort of thing.
I mean, I would say, since I'm a derpy Utah who's friendly to everybody, I would probably say, "Oh, hello."
Okay.
Well, since I live in Arkansas, if I saw somebody walking around in a kimono, I'd be like, something bad's about to happen. I don't even think people around here know what kimonos are.
I'd probably be like, "Hey man, we got a Discord server that would would fit you perfectly.
Are you lost?"
Well, are you lost?
Are you lost?
Lordy Almighty! So, in the case of the Sharimi, as it gets closer to you as you walk through the night, you all of a sudden notice that it doesn't have facial features. And as you pass by, it'll try to get your attention. It will even use words. It'll say, "Excuse me," or it'll just do anything to get your attention. And as soon as you start even remotely pretending like you're going to respond, it drops the kimono to its ankles, bends over, spreads its butt cheeks, and shows you the giant glowing eyeball inside of its butthole. And you are just not even ready for this. It is, and I mean glowing, like a beacon of light from a butthole.
No, that happened to me like 3 times in 2013.
See? And then I'm just like, so like we just said, Steven, that like, yeah, usually these are associated with a lesson learned or something that teaches you something. And I would just ask myself after that leaves, what have I learned today?
Don't look directly into the butthole.
Don't look at the eye.
So what happens if you look into the eye?
It's just scary, and then it runs off.
Like nothing actually happens.
Yeah, and nothing actually happens. Its main goal in life is just to spook people.
So it's just like, ha! And then it like runs away into the bushes.
Yeah, like hands and legs, just runs off on all fours with its butthole and eyeballs still looking at you. Like,
falls and stumbles. Very ungraceful demon.
Yeah, we really need to get the police to do something about Jake. He's been doing this for over a decade.
He's a serial butthole shower.
Oh my god.
So yes, sometimes some demons just want to cause you some trouble, particularly butthole related.
It's not even trouble. That's just like I could still go about my day and get things done. It's just very jarring for a moment.
Not the kind of flashlight you were hoping for.
So is this where the term like referring to a butthole as the eye comes from? Probably.
I don't think so.
Brown eye.
It's supposed to be a giant eyeball. It's not like a regular size eyeball in a butthole. It's supposed to be a giant eyeball.
So it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, absolutely. If you saw the picture,
you're welcome. I tell everybody watching as our analytics just plummet after that.
So yes, that is the stuff. No. No. Good
That's
thing we're
a
not
short.
monetized. Good thing we're not monetized. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Jesus.
That was the thing that's ever happened in here.
I think the best part is you nailed that sound effect so well. I've never been able to do it that well, but you have perfected the art.
We
sir.
did that like almost with the delay factored in and everything factored in, almost like in perfect simultaneously. It was awesome.
Okay.
Anyway, Steven, sorry.
Sorry. Please
Okay.
We're
continue
taking
with
this
your
very
story.
seriously.
I can
apologize.
see that. But it's essentially it's a playful spirit. It's not going to eat you. It's not going to kill you. It's just wants to spook you and then run off into the night giggling to itself after it's showed you its butthole. And that is, it's the thing.
Is that the button?
Typical Japan.
Hey, like I've seen some weird stuff on the internet. I think this is okay.
Look, let me put it this way: if a guy ran around anywhere, pretty much anywhere, and just showed his butthole to random people, I don't think people these days would be calling it a playful spirit. Oh, don't mind him; he's a playful spirit.
Yeah. That yokai's getting me too'd for sure.
I mean, he's probably drank some playful spirits,
right? Anyway.
Okay, that was a dumb joke. Moving on. All right, we're going to go to the final story, which is actually going to be a little bit longer. Not too long, but a little bit longer, because I'm going to actually read it directly from where I have it, because it has a lot of names in it. And so I will take this opportunity to introduce the breast milk tree.
And just when I thought nothing got better than the butthole demon.
You had me at breast and lost me at milk.
So I'm going to preface this by saying that I did a lot of research in terms of reading. I've read a couple books about yokai that I will be utilizing over the various episodes that I talk about yokai. But in particular, specifically this one, I did a lot of research on yokai.com, which is a website that is run by Matthew Meyer. He's very knowledgeable and has a really great website for just referencing yokai, learning about what they look like. He does art for the website, and he has a cool little blog, and he's published some books. So check it out if you guys get the chance, if you're just interested and you don't want to listen to me ramble on or make jokes about it. But this is the story of the Chibusa Inoki. Basically, it translates to breast hackberry tree. So there is a legend associated with this, and this is supernatural, but it's kind of like the good supernatural with some sort of bad turns. But let's get started. Long ago, a samurai turned painter named Hishikawa Shigenobu lived in Edo with his wife Okise and their baby boy Mayotaro. His apprentice was a skillful young man named Isogai Namie. Unbeknownst to Shigenobu, Namie lusted after Okise. So this guy wants this dude's wife. Plain and simple. He's just like looking at her from a distance, just slobbering over himself, trying to get his wife.
He's an orbiter. He's a typical orbiter.
Oh yeah. NTR protagonist, that sort of thing. Yeah. One day, Shigenobu was called away to paint a temple ceiling. He took a servant, Shosuke, with him. In their absence, Namie approached Okise and threatened to murder the boy Mayotaro if she did not sleep with him. Typical, move. With nobody to protect her, she agreed. Gradually, she came to return Namie's affection. Their affair continued for some time, but Namie knew it would end when Shigenobu came home. So he devised a plan to ensure that his master would never return. Just
typical.
Take a guy's wife, make sure he's gone.
So lifetime movie right here.
Seriously, but Lifetime would paint this guy as a protagonist for sure. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah. The husband was abusive. He's a drunk.
Yeah. Fuck monogamy. Yeah, am I right?
He's a terrible dude. So Namie visited Shigenobu under the pretense of seeing his progress. Shigenobu was nearly finished with only the arm of the female dragon left to paint. That evening, Namie coerced Shosuke, the servant that went with Shigenobu, into helping him assassinate Shigenobu. So he's strong-arming the servant into helping him kill the boss. This guy must be really persuasive. That's all I have to say. Either that or he's got some good dirt on people. So Shosuke returned to the temple and invited Shigenobu out to watch the fireflies with him, a typical evening in Edo. While enjoying the nighttime spectacle, Shosuke got Shigenobu very drunk, super drunk, just gonna pound those sake bottles. Then on the way back to the temple, Namie attacked and slew the drunk old samurai. Sheesh. Man, didn't even give him a chance. Probably because he would have lost.
And the guy's a painter now, too. Like, he put the blade down. Like, that's rude.
Yeah, I know. He was a master of the blade. I actually don't know that. The samurai is a generic term for a person that serves. He may not have been a master of the blade. Could have been.
He was an average. He was the Mendoza of samurai.
Yeah. He was like the sword guy. Like they went and got the swords for the samurai, and they were like, "Yeah, you're honorary."
Yeah,
samurai.
It was a Make-A-Wish. It was a Make-A-Wish thing.
Oh my
God. Yeah. Go paint.
Like they let them throw the pitch.
Yeah.
With this, they let him hold the sword. And,
here's your honorary top knot.
The samurai who wouldn't give up.
You guys are painting this guy as like a terrible person. You're making it seem like Namie is like doing this wife and buddy a favor.
We're painting him as not a terrible person, just a what's the word I'm looking for? Incompetent person.
Which we have no basis to go on.
I have no basis.
He probably was. I mean,
he's clearly a great painter because he's painting a temple. But Shosuke rushed to the temple to report that brigands had attacked his master. However, when he arrived, he saw that Shigenobu was there. I thought he was dead. The painter had just finished the female dragon's arm and was signing his name to the painting. When Shigenobu turned to look at him, Shosuke was so shocked that he fainted. He just passed out. And when he came to, Shigenobu was gone. Had it been a ghost? I don't know. Could have been yokai related. You never know.
Interesting.
Burn the butthole, demon. Just say it. Burn the butthole, demon.
You didn't catch that during all of those sake bottles? You didn't.
This has been a weird party. Damn it, stop that shit.
That was just the cork of the sake bottle, Steven.
Yeah, it was a sake bottle.
Yeah,
It wasn't the shishimi demon, whatever it
is. The sashimi demon?
Clearly
you're professionals. God damn it. All right, so
ruining urban legends since 2022.
That's true. You guys are a tough crowd. But not long after that, Namie and the widow Okise were married. Shosuke remained in Namie's service. Namie and Okise had a baby. However, Namie did not like raising Shigenobu's son in addition to his own. He ordered Shosuke to murder Mayotaro. This guy is just a murder machine, apparently. So,
no kidding.
Who's the real yokai?
What did this guy's wife look like that this guy's going to all this trouble?
Oh, she must have been really pretty, I guess, or at least pretty enough to want to murder people.
I don't know, maybe.
All right.
I'm just Googling pictures. Anyway, continue.
So Shosuke took the boy to a waterfall and flung him off into the abyss. Peering down into the waterfall's basin, he was shocked to the core. The ghost of his murdered master, Shigenobu, was there. It had caught the baby boy and was cradling him safely. That's right. Daddy's got you.
This guy just can't get a break.
Shigenobu's ghost approached Shosuke and commanded him to take Mayotaro to the nearby temple of Shoketsuin. Shosuke was so shocked that he reformed his ways and did as he was commanded. Mayotaro was brought to Shoketsuin, where Shosuke raised him. There was a miraculous hackberry tree with bulbs on it shaped like breasts on the temple grounds. The tree produced a milk that was sweet and nourishing and allowed Mayotaro to grow up strong and healthy. That's right, boys. If you don't got a lady to breastfeed your baby, rely on the trees. Yeah,
titty tree.
Titty tree. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Google Maps that.
The titty tree.
Yeah. Street view.
I kind of want to. I'm just going to Google it now. See what pops up.
You're just gonna get weird porn at that point. Let's be real.
I think that's what this is.
Yeah, I think that's what this is at this point.
Edo period porn. Is that what you're saying? Well,
and dendrophilia was born.
And it ends with a bang, folks, because Okise becomes haunted by visions of Shigenobu's ghost. She develops painful tumors in her breast, was unable to produce milk for her and Namie's newborn. The baby became sickly and died. Not long after that, Okise herself went mad and died in agony. And 5 years later, the story of the boy raised on the hackberry's milk spread far and wide. When it reached Namie's ears, he realized what had happened to Shosuke and Mayotaro. Namie went to Shogetsu in with the intent of murdering them both. Because, again, murder machine, just going at it. Upon reaching the temple, he surprised Shosuke and Mayotaro, who were unable to defend themselves. At that very moment, Shigenobu's ghost appeared and directed Mayotaro's sword hand. Namie was struck dead. Shigenobu's ghost, having achieved his vengeance, vanished forever. And that is right. If you want revenge, you need to make sure that your baby gets tree breast milk and a sword and strikes down your oppressor.
Oh, easy enough, dude. That's a short list.
There's some good stories, and this is
that's nuts, dude. Is that one like a parable-ish one too? Like, is there a lesson to be learned there?
And I'll say, like, I know we of course joked about it, but it should be just because it's us. But those are actually really fucking cool stories. Like, they're a little odd. Like, I think it got into real absurdism with the breast milk tree for sure, and not the butthole demon though. That's pretty common. But I don't know, like, you know, like the breast milk tree does just sound like the ravings of a drunk person on sake. You know, it's and maybe the butthole demon, like somebody legit was running around Japan showing their butthole to people, and they just claimed it. Like many people in the 1600s, 1700s. In like Europe, they just claimed it was a demon, you know. So
I mean, yeah, possibly. I think some of them are jokes that were made up by the writers at the time. I think that was their way of, because remember I said that one of the creators of the yokai encyclopedias and compendiums of scary stories added their own stories. So if this is a funny guy, I mean, a butthole demon with a giant eye is going to be hilarious, especially when it lights up and just scares the shit out of you.
This was like very early creepypasta.
Essentially,
it makes sense. So one thing I wanted to ask is I feel like especially like Japanese haunts and Japanese ghosts really kind of started pushing forward when The Ring came out, which was like what 2001 2002ish I think. And I felt like that then we just saw an avalanche of all these movies with the girl ghost with the hair, long dark hair and everything. There's like 20 of them that came out in succession, like 5 months within 3 years or whatever, something like that. I don't know what I'm saying, but.
You had Grudge, you had Dark Water, I think. There was several, you know, Japanese movies, horror movies that became, you know, westernized and things like that. It's actually something that's interesting because I think a lot of creepypasta pulls from multiple cultures in terms of, you know, their haunts.
Gotcha.
You know, think about it. Like Slender Man has no features. That's actually a type of yokai in Japan. Is literally it's a demon that has no facial features, and it can look like a human. It can blend in, and it is known for taking people. And there's a specific term for it that escapes me right now. Oh, that's right, being spirited away. That like you get spirited away to the demon realm. There is a really complex term I'm not going to try to pronounce, but it's basically a big parade of demons that happens once a year in during the night, where if you're not careful, all these demons gather up and they march through Japan and they can just spirit you away. That's why, you know, of course, you know, you'll see if you learn enough about yokai and different cultural like legends and stuff like that. If you watch the movie Spirited Away, you can actually spot some of those specific things in the background.
Well, now
that makes sense. Now I kind of want to watch it under that different lens.
I kind of want to watch it after you do a few more yokai things so I can familiarize myself because, like you were mentioning that there are so many different kinds of yokai and different stories that this could be like 20 episodes basically.
Oh yeah, I'm probably going to move into something a little bit more detailed, like some of the big ones. Like there is Kappa, which is something that they're the kind of like frog-like demons with the bald spot on their head, kind of like me. They have beaks, and they are known water spirits, and there are stories of them. There's cute mascots of them. There is stories of them being horrible monsters that spirit away children and eat them, but they can also bring you fortune. So there's a lot of details to cover in those. Oni is also encompasses a lot of things, and that's something I'd like to cover as well. So this was meant to be like a fun introduction, and kind of a way to show you some of the different types of stories.
Yeah, you definitely caught our interest. So I'm excited to learn about some more like the more serious ones and some of the more like actual like scary ones and stuff. Like I definitely want to know more.
Yeah, to give you a preview of one of the ones we'll be covering is there is a giant skeleton yokai, which has a wonderful batch of stories associated with it. So
Nephilim.
Awesome.
Nephilim. Could tie in.
That's true.
Just say. I guess before we wind down this episode, the last question I have is: are there any modern stories of yokai? Like, are there people claiming that they're seeing them in like from 1980 to 2020?
Yes, there's still stories like that out there.
Gotcha.
I imagine this, like I said earlier, like kind of like our creepypasta. Like I'm sure like they're still coming up with some crazy stories today just to like keep the art going. Because it is, I mean, that's what it is. It's an art of creating these folk tale stories.
Yeah, I love it.
And so with that, we're gonna kind of wrap up yokai. We'll try to get some. I'll do you a solid. I'll try to find some modern yokai takes, or at least claims of viewing. I mean, there's lots of cameras everywhere. We may be able to get a cool little video out of it or something.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I love that stuff. Yeah, I love that stuff. But not because I believe it, but because it's cool to watch.
Yeah, yeah, there's some cool stuff. I mean, even whatever. I'm ready for some cool modern stories to go along with some of these old tales. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap on the yokai for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the fun, weird little stories I told, and the butthole demon, which I know everybody loved, or at least the people here I'm talking to.
But analytics will either skyrocket or plummet. We don't know yet.
Just be sure to check back with us here at Chaotic Underground when we come back with more yokai stories and information, because it's fun to learn and laugh. So thank you very much for listening to me tonight, guys, and I'm looking forward to the next time we get to do this.
Likewise.
All right. Peace.
Later, guys.